We're in District Court in Ann Arbor, Michigan. 36-year-old Anthony Lane is before Judge Cedric Simpson for a virtual conference. 6 months earlier, Lane was charged with 1 count of possessing methamphetamine or ecstasy and 1 count of possessing a narcotic, cocaine or heroin. Today, Lane is requesting to waive his right to a probable cause hearing and have his case sent straight to circuit court.
Mr. Lane, please state your name for the court.
Anthony Lane.
Good morning, sir.
All right.
How you doing?
A waiver for continued plea negotiations and resolution in circuit.
You understand you'll not have that hearing and you'll proceed to circuit court for further resolution?
Yes, sir.
Everything seems to be going as planned until the judge asked the prosecutor if he also agrees to waive the probable cause hearing.
People also waive their right?
Your Honor, I'll agree to waive, but I do want to make a statement on the record. It appeared that earlier in this time block that Mr. Lane was rolling a blunt and might have been smoking.
Earlier that day, while Lane waited in the virtual courtroom, he decided to have a smoke. Another defendant waiting for the judge did a double take when he noticed what Lane was up to. While recreational marijuana use is legal in Michigan, Lane is out on bond and strictly prohibited from taking any drugs or controlled substances. Lane looked cautiously out the vehicle's window, but paid no attention to the phone in front of him that was broadcasting what he was doing, not only on the internet, but directly to the court. He continued smoking during the session and flaunted the blunt up close while Judge Simpson was handling other cases. Court staff took notice and informed the prosecutor.
Your Honor, given that information, I guess we need to adjourn the PCC so Mr. Lane and I can speak further before we wait.
Yeah. I think that might be wise. Mr. Lane, you understand what's happening now?
Yeah.
As part of his bond conditions, Lane is also supposed to be taking regular drug tests.
When's the last time you tested?
2 weeks ago.
You were supposed to be testing 2 times per week.
I tested back to back.
Okay, but have you tested this week?
No, sir.
I'm also going to order that you're to report to community corrections today for a test.
Your Honor, I have no ride today.
Well, you better find somebody to get you a ride down here. I'm ordering a test. You're the one that brought this on yourself by what you did. So I'm ordering a test today.
Okay,
if you
sir.
don't test today, I'm going to be issuing a warrant to have you picked up.
But as the judge moves on, Lane lingers on the call and lets out a laugh.
You keep laughing, Mr. Lane. I don't think you want to do that. Not with me. You better take yourself off before you think things are too funny. Thank you.
I wasn't laughing at you, sir. I wasn't laughing at you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Court calls case, People versus Chandler Langston.
Lane never made it to community corrections that day, nor did he appear at his next conference. Judge Simpson issued a warrant for his arrest and revoked bond. His case remains open. Next, we're in Ann Arbor, Michigan for a post-sentencing hearing. 37-year-old Shannon Phillips has not been making payments on the court-ordered restitution and court fees that were part of her sentence. 5.5 years earlier, Phillips got into a physical altercation with store owner Tyrone Curry about how much change he owed her from a lottery ticket purchase. Tyrone told police that Phillips went behind the counter and threw merchandise around the store. He also told him she had a gun in her pants and had threatened to shoot up the store. Phillips was arrested and charged with carrying a concealed weapon and malicious destruction of property. During a bench trial, she was found guilty of both charges by a judge. She was sentenced to 6 months in jail, followed by 3 years probation. She was also ordered to pay $4,300 in restitution to Tyrone for the damaged property. Phillips made regular payments for 3 years, but has fallen behind in the last year. She's paid less than half of the amount she owes to the victim. Today, Phillips is before Judge Patrick Conlon to address the outstanding payments.
Let's see if we can resolve this. Is Shannon Phillips or anyone representing her in court today? Ms. Phillips, are you there? Are you Shannon Phillips, who's identified as UCC 1-308, all rights reserved?
This is Shannon Phillips. She's chosen to log into the hearing as UCC 1-308, all rights reserved, and is not answering when the judge calls her name.
Okay, well, there's no response to the court's inquiry. It's 4:30 p.m. on July 13th.
We hear you now. Are you Ms. Phillips?
UCC 1-308, all rights reserved. I am here on a special visitation of the all caps name.
While Phillips has not identified herself as such, she appears to be employing tactics and reciting language from the playbook of sovereign citizens, many of whom believe that adding certain codes and all rights reserved to their names will protect them from prosecution.
Who are you? Okay. Seeing no response to my request, it's 4:30 p.m. The matter was scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Agent Miller, I will sign a bench warrant upon your submission. Failure to appear.
The judge is refusing to acknowledge Phillips until she identifies herself by her legal name.
My name is capital S, lowercase h, lowercase a, lowercase n, lowercase n, lowercase o, lowercase n.
Okay. Are you Shannon Phillips?
I am Shannon.
Judge Conlon is done playing the name game, so he wraps things up.
Okay. I'll sign the bench warrant when you issue it, Agent Miller. Feel free to send that up to my office and I will
asked
sign
for it
it.
to be dismissed with prejudice. How y'all gonna sign a bench warrant and I'm sitting right here? I told y'all what my name was.
Phillips may be present, but the judge takes her refusal to properly identify herself as a failure to appear. Phillips continues talking as the court moves on to the next case.
Number 56, People versus Tyree Pitts, 21535 FH.
They mad.
I'm trying to assistant prosecutor on behalf of the people.
I do not consent.
Reside.
I do not consent.
And have no contact with his.
Phillips dropped out of the hearing, and a bench warrant was issued for her 9 days later. It remains outstanding. Her non-payment hearing has been rescheduled. Next, we're in the Broward County Bond Court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Mr. Shanus, Abraham Arthur Shanus, and I have been legally divorced for 31 years, and I have the papers to prove it.
This is 80-year-old Dolores Shinus. She landed herself in jail for resisting arrest after violating a restraining order filed by her ex-husband.
We both resided at 20 Bend, and he paid for the apartment entirely. His assumption is because he paid for the apartment, he's entitled to do as he pleases.
I can't get in the middle of who owns the apartment.
I know, that's not the point. The point
is,
I'm telling you.
I need to keep you away from him, all right?
I haven't bothered him for 31 years. Why would I bother him now?
Rather than actually getting up in arms, Judge John Hurley decides to release Shinus on a personal recognizance bond so long as she agrees to stay away from her ex-husband.
You are not allowed to call him, text him, email him. You are to stay 500 feet from him at all times. That's where he lives, where he works, anywhere in between. Ma'am, you're getting a second chance on this case. I don't particularly feel like keeping an 80-year-old woman in the jail who has no criminal record. But this is your second warning. Don't go around him again.
I swear to God and all that's Tony on a stack of Bibles, I will never go near him, talk to him, call him, or even look at him. What was the
first thing you were going to swear on besides the Bibles?
All that's holy.
What?
I don't remember.
Oh.
What?
All that's holy.
All that's holy. Yeah.
Oh, all that's holy. Yes, sir. I didn't recognize your twang.
The senior's sassy remark catches Judge Hurley off guard.
Ma'am, have you ever thought of doing a stand-up routine? Have you ever thought about that?
I did. If you pay me good money, sweetheart, I'll be there. I'm really short of funds.
Ma'am, I got to tell you something. You seem like you have a great wit about you.
I do, sir.
Yeah, so...
I mean, sweetheart, that's the only thing I have.
I've been called sweetheart in this courtroom.
Does that mean you're taking me for breakfast?
Let me ask you something, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
How have I done as a judge today? So far, how am I doing?
Not bad, but you could do better.
Okay. Can we get a drum roll with this?
With the case already wrapped up, the only thing the judge, the public defender, and all the other inmates are waiting for is one final punchline.
I gotta tell you, you brightened my day, ma'am. All right?
That's what the last guy said, and then he sued me.
Next, we're in Mount Clemens, Michigan, for a plea hearing. 39-year-old Denise Robertson has been charged with 6 felony counts of uttering and publishing, which means she manufactured and cashed fraudulent checks. Robertson's a habitual offender with 4 previous felonies on her record and faces a max sentence of life in prison. But today she's taking a plea deal in exchange for a lesser maximum sentence.
My client is asking for a referral for a drug court.
The county drug court is a prison diversion program established to help nonviolent drug offenders.
Well, it seems as though her problem is she needs to take and learn how to write a check with a checking account that has her funds in it. How's drug court interplay with all this?
That's veteran judge Mary Chinowski. She's earned the nickname Scary Mary from defendants due to her tough approach from the bench.
The drugs were the root of her problems, Your Honor.
Why do you want to go to drug court? Other than trying to stay away from going to prison.
Because when I don't do drugs, I live okay.
So why do you do drugs?
I don't know.
Okay, and how long is this going on?
For the last 5 years.
So did at any point in this 5 years, did you wake up and say, hey, I got a problem and I think I better do something?
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car and put back on picking pills. And here I am today.
Now all of a sudden, you're looking at going to prison and you want to go to drug court. Now, is this an excuse to stay out of prison? No. Well, somebody out there said yes. Somebody out there knows you better than me because I've just met you. Who's that? Come on up here. Let me hear what you have to say.
Her brother comes forward from the gallery to voice his own opinion.
What's going on?
I believe she needs to get the book thrown at her. Somehow she keeps escaping on this drug stuff all the time. The drugs are causing her to do this. She had an opportunity. She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
Wake up, woman. They took away your kids. When are you going to wake up? Somebody else is raising your kids because you're doing nothing to help yourself. That's where I've got a problem, because this drug court was put in place to help people who want to help themselves. So do you think this drug court program is going to help her?
She's been through so many drug programs, it's pathetic. She's been in and out of rehab, left and right, and nothing ever helps.
After a short deliberation, Judge Chinowski makes her ruling.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to refer her to the drug court, not with the extensive record that she has, and certainly not with 8 new convictions on her record.
Denise Robertson was later sentenced to a minimum of 1 year and 11 months and a maximum of 14 years in prison for the 6 felony charges.
I just want to say that I am appalled and disgusted by what I've done.
We're in Ogden, Utah, for the sentencing of 41-year-old Dia Millerberg. 3 years earlier, Millerberg, her husband, and their 16-year-old babysitter, Alexis Rasmussen, were sharing alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs while engaging in sexual activity at the couple's home. The partying ultimately turned deadly after Eric Millerberg injected the 16-year-old with her 3rd dose of heroin and methamphetamine, causing an overdose. Eric Millerberg, a convicted felon, allegedly feared he'd be sent back to prison if they alerted authorities. So the couple drove Rasmussen's body to a remote area and buried her in a shallow grave. Alexis Rasmussen remained a missing person for more than a month until a tip from a confidential informant led police to her body and back to the Millerbergs. Following the couple's arrest, Dia made an agreement with the prosecution to testify against her husband in exchange for a reduced sentence. She pled guilty to obstructing justice, unlawfully acquiring prescription drugs, and desecration of a dead body. For 3 years, Millerberg's been allowed to live free out on bail and was able to regain custody of her infant and elementary school-aged child. But now at sentencing, she's facing up to 15 years in prison.
Lexi's family and friends have to live with these choices every day. Although I would never have made the choices Dia did with my daughter, I go back over and over again thinking about what I could have done to make things different. I wonder if she ever does the same thing.
Before learning her sentence, Millerberg turns to face the victim's family.
Can I?
You may address the audience, Ms. Smith.
I just want to say that I am appalled and disgusted by what I've done. I've hurt your family in a way I can't fix. You're in my prayers, and I hope one day you'll be able to forgive me, and that God will bring me peace. Your Honor, I'm not going to make excuses for what I've done. I think it would only make things worse. I have no way to express the magnitude of grief that I feel for Alexis' family for what I've done. But I take responsibility. And thank you for just letting me say my piece.
It's now up to Judge W. Brent West to make a decision.
The bottom line is, Ms. Millerberg, and I do think that prison is the appropriate sentence in this particular situation. I realize that 3 years of allowing you to rebuild and your family and everything of that nature, and then to come in and say, okay, Judge, you're going to destroy that. But I take these cases as I find them to be. I didn't have any control that it took 3 years to bring this to trial.
Judge West was asked by Millerberg's attorney to consider probation over prison, but he has much to consider.
I have to balance society's the need for punishment, the need for rehabilitation, and with all due respect, Ms. Millerberg, sometimes it's not about the defendant. Thank you. But sometimes you do such acts that are such extreme and so heinous and depraved, burying this young girl's body and hiding it from the police. You've got to balance that, and you have to put it all in perspective. It's going to be the order and sentence of the court that you're to serve 3 indeterminate terms in the Utah State Prison of 0 to 5 years. I will recommend that they run concurrent.
Dia Millerberg ultimately served 4 years and 2 months in state prison. As for her husband, Eric Millerberg, he was convicted of child abuse homicide, obstruction of justice, unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, and abuse or desecration of a body, and was sentenced to 6 years to life in prison. Next, we head to Bunnell, Florida for a plea hearing. 60-year-old Mark McNeil has been charged with 14 counts of child neglect, driving under the influence with a person under 18, and resisting arrest. 4 months earlier, McNeil was arriving for his job as a middle school bus driver when one of his coworkers smelled alcohol in his breath and reported him to a supervisor. But not before McNeil had picked up 40 children from the school and begun his regular afternoon route. It's not clear if McNeil knew about the report, but he ignored repeated calls from dispatchers. After dropping off several kids, he finally stopped when his supervisor caught up with him, at which point he exited the bus and fell to the ground, complaining that he couldn't breathe. No children were injured during the incident, but when police arrived and tried to take McNeil into custody, he did not cooperate.
So he definitely did say, I've had a couple of years, so what?
Hey,
Stop.
Don't hit me.
Stop.
Don't hit me.
Stop.
Don't hit me.
You're not getting
Don't
my
hit
face
me.
again.
Don't hit me. Look, he's hitting me. He's hitting me. Yeah.
Do not get my face again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Ow.
Scoot all the way back. Scoot all the way back.
Ow. You made me.
McNeil was arrested, and when tested, his blood alcohol level was 0.32, 4 times the legal limit of 0.08. He's agreed to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a sentence of 1 year in county jail, avoiding any time in a state prison. For today's hearing, at which McNeil arrived 2 hours late, the defendant appears before Judge Terrence Perkins to officially enter his plea. But before things get going, McNeil has something to say.
I want to just add one more thing, that I didn't want to waste time here. Okay, all you people work hard, and I can't. Okay, I don't want to waste anybody's time. Okay, and I'm really sorry.
Okay.
But not only is the judge unwilling to accept McNeil's apology, he's not going to approve the plea deal either.
Here's the problem. So I think that you're impaired today, and so I can't take the plea.
I'm sorry?
I think you're impaired.
No, I'm not. I'm not impaired at all.
Okay.
I'm just so sorry.
Okay. We got a lab right here in the building. Let's do this. So I'm gonna test you. Are you gonna come up with alcohol or substances?
No.
Okay. So hang on. So let's go ahead and get you tested. Make sure that.
I'm not getting tested.
Okay. Then what I'm gonna do, sir, is I'm gonna go ahead and take you into custody right now because I think you are impaired.
I'm not impaired at all.
And so I'm afraid you are a danger moving forward here. And so what I want to do is get you tested. Let's get you tested, and if you're not impaired in any way, and you certainly do appear so, sir, but if you're not impaired in any way,
Do you know, Your Honor, that you know what? I am impaired. Okay? Because this is, I've got to go to jail. So,
okay. All right, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
McNeil was taken into custody. He was not hit with any new charges, but his plea deal was amended. He pled no contest to the original charges and was sentenced to 1.5 years in a Florida prison, plus 3.5 years probation. He also lost his job as a school bus driver and is now prohibited from working or volunteering with children.
Don't let hit me. Look, he's hitting me. He's hitting me.
Now to the Seminole County Circuit Court in Sanford, Florida. It's 6:30 p.m. and a long one-day trial has come to an end.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of driving under the influence.
That defendant is 46-year-old Lisette Gonzalez. Although a verdict for Gonzalez's DUI charge has already been reached, her attorney makes a final plea to Judge Fred Schott.
Your Honor, not enough evidence presented for the jury to find the verdict that they did. They didn't do all the field sobriety examinations that should have been done.
During the trial, it was revealed that Gonzalez was never given a breathalyzer or had her blood drawn. Yet, arresting officer Michael Wagner recorded that she tested above the legal limit of .08 in his official report. Wagner claimed it was an honest mistake, but observed what he believed to be intoxication.
I respectfully ask that this court grant the judgment notwithstanding the verdict.
The attorney is asking the judge to use his power to overturn the jury's verdict and acquit the defendant. It's a move rarely seen in the courtroom.
All right. This isn't a purely circumstantial case. And so I'm going to deny the motion for JOA.
It looks like the case is closed, but Judge Schott has other business with Gonzalez.
Now, we have this other case for driving while license suspended.
2 months after her DUI arrest, Gonzalez was ticketed for driving with a suspended license. Problem is, the only reason her license was suspended was because of the inaccurate paperwork filed by Officer Wagner.
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
He testified to that today.
He caused her to have her driver's license suspended for at least a few months for nothing. So are you going to null process that case, or am I going to get mad at you today?
The judge is addressing prosecutor Diana Mears.
Perhaps you can get mad at me, Your Honor, but at this point...
Why wouldn't you? Wait a minute. Did you hear the uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor.
Then I want you taking him up on perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for perjury?
He admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn
Absolutely
citation.
not, Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge. No, I'm dismissing the charge.
The judge has just dismissed the defendant's upcoming case, but he's not done yet.
This whole case was fishy, and I have no idea how they. You know what?
Their address on file.
You know what?
The state intends to amend
I'm
the
granting.
charge and proceed on
I'm rescinding the sentence. I'm granting the JOA.
Judge Schott has just reversed his decision and acquitted the defendant on the spot.
So you're granting it because you don't agree with the state's decision on
I'm granting the JOA in fairness.
In fairness, because you don't like the state's decision today, Your Honor, on the case?
No, you're not. Now that I consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. You're done. Motion, the JOA is granted.
And you're not going to provide a written order on that?
Nope. You want to appeal me? Appeal me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The case should have never been done. Never.
Thank you for letting us know that, Your Honor.
The defendant, Lisette Gonzalez, walks out of the courtroom, free of all charges. Next, we're in Orange County, Florida, where the defendant is making his second appearance here on court cam.
Jeremy Dwit. Did I say that right? Yes, sir.
41-year-old Jeremy Dwit is charged with carrying a concealed weapon. The Orange County Sheriff's Office is very familiar with Dwit.
Oh, God, not him again. It's Jeremy.
Since DeWitt's been arrested several times in the past and convicted once for impersonating a police officer.
What are you doing? What the does it look like I'm doing, dog? Get the over before you find out. Stop pretending you're a police officer.
DeWitt runs a security company that provides escort service during funeral processions. But he has a long history of using this business to drive recklessly through traffic, block intersections,
Go past me! Go past me!
and confront other drivers when he believes they're disrupting his services.
Hey! Pull over! Pull over!
Police eventually caught up with DeWitt, and he was charged in 2 different counties with impersonating an officer and failing to register as a sex offender. He was released on bond, and that's when police catch up with him again, 10 months later. A deputy stops him along with one of his employees when he sees DeWitt carrying what appears to be a firearm.
Don't reach for that firearm! Walk away from your bike! Keep your hands up! Keep your hands up! Go down to your knees! Do not reach for that firearm!
You're being secure because you're openly carrying a firearm.
What?
You're openly carrying a firearm.
It's illegal to openly carry a firearm in Florida, and after he's placed in cuffs, the deputy tries to remove DeWitt's helmet, which the faux police officer does not appreciate.
What are you yanking my helmet off? I'm trying to identify you because I can't see you. You're trying to identify me?
When DeWitt learns why he's being arrested, he goes ballistic.
Carrying a pepper ball, you already know that. I do not know that. That is a firearm. That is a firearm right now. All right, Jeremy, you're being arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. Concealed? It was in plain view. That's not plain view. That's concealed. That holster's in it. What are you talking about?
DeWitt is furious with police, and there seems to be only one thing on his mind.
Give me a lieutenant. Give me a lieutenant. It was in plain view. It's in plain view. Give me a lieutenant. Sit down. Sit down and be quiet. Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant?
But the real police don't take kindly to his demands.
Give me a lieutenant. This is not right. Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? I'm a deputy. I'm not an officer. You don't tell me what to do. I understand. Stop yelling at me, and I'm going to stop yelling at you. Do not yell. Do not raise your voice at me. Yes, sir. Do you understand? I understand. You've already asked the sergeant for a lieutenant. You don't get to pick and choose who comes to the traffic stop.
DeWitt's taken to the station and officially charged with carrying a concealed weapon. But when it's later determined it was just an unloaded pepper ball gun.
This online identifies it as a Glock, basically a Glock replica. Can you show me on here anywhere, I mean, I don't know why you'd have a light on a less lethal, but can you show me anywhere on here where it gives anybody the idea that this is not a firearm, that it's a less lethal?
I can't answer that. I don't make those. But you know they're less lethal.
No, I'm asking. If I saw this, I wouldn't know that.
That's where you're. But you can say that for somebody else.
Okay.
How's it going, sir? Good. How are you?
The charges are dropped.
Wherever you want to go. Do you need a ride? Where can I take you? Isn't it amazing how nice you guys are when you screw up? Thank you. Let's go. Come on.
But DeWitt's far from being out of the woods. Because of this recent arrest, his current bond is revoked. So DeWitt goes before the judge to clarify the situation.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I was on bond. They revoked my bond with a new charge, but that charge was dropped.
He has approximately 10 or 11 other cases that he's currently first.
Oh, you got a bunch of different cases that are keeping you.
Right.
DeWitt's eventually set free with his bond back in place, but will still stand trial for impersonating a police officer, and if found guilty, he could be looking at 5 years in prison.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Next, we head to Pontiac, Michigan for a sentencing. 27-year-old Catherine Houdeling has pled no contest to 6 counts of third-degree criminal sexual conduct and 1 count of delivery of a controlled substance to a minor. A year earlier, Houdeling was a high school special needs teacher when she was accused of having sex multiple times with 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, one of them a special needs student. The activities occurred away from school property, in cars and in an apartment. The defendant, who's married, was also accused of providing drugs and alcohol to the boys. After an internal investigation by the school, which uncovered footage of Houdeling partying with students, she was fired and later charged by police. Houdeling initially pled not guilty, but to avoid a trial, she took a deal and pled no contest to the charges. Today, Houdeling appears in a packed courtroom before Judge Ray Lee Chabot to hear her sentence. But first, family members deliver impact statements, beginning with one of the victim's mothers.
My son became the punchline of jokes and was even taunted by students from another school during a district basketball game where they were yelling "teacher's pet" while he was on the court. This relationship included unapproved rides home, alcohol, sex in cars, and even Mrs. Houdeling sneaking into my home in the middle of the night to be with my son.
Next is an uncle and guardian of one of the victims.
When I returned from dinner, he was as high as a kite. From drugs that she had given my nephew. To me, This is ridiculous. It's absurd to do that.
Finally, County Prosecutor Sarah Pope Starnes asked the judge to stick to the suggested guidelines of 15 years in prison for each charge.
Still, to this minute, this defendant has expressed no remorse. This is everyone else's fault. She blames the victims. Even up to the day before she was interviewed by the police, she was texting the victim, wanting to know if could hang out with her. I don't think the defendant has provided this court with any reason to go below the advisory guidelines.
Before the judge issues her sentence, Houdeling speaks to the court, as well as the families of the victims.
I want to start by taking responsibility for my actions. I understand that my actions have consequences. I want to apologize to all the parties involved, specifically to my students. I know that my actions betrayed the duty and responsibility I had to them as a teacher. I sincerely never intended for my relationship with them to cause them trauma.
When Houdeling is finished, the judge issues her sentence: 4 to 15 years in prison for each of the 6 counts of criminal sexual conduct, and for delivery of drugs to a minor, 4 to 8 years. All the sentences to run concurrently. Houdeling must serve a minimum of 4 years and 3 months of her sentence.
Stand up and raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Please stand up.
We head over to the Miami-Dade Bond Court in Miami, Florida,
The one sleeping there, you can wake up too in the back row.
where Judge Mindy Glazer's overseeing bond hearings.
I have a few announcements. I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent all defendants unless you tell me you have money to pay for a private lawyer or if you are hiring a private lawyer and one is here. Also, please let me know if you have served in the United States military or any of the reserves. Good morning.
Good morning.
Over the next few hours, she'll see dozens of defendants.
You were arrested for second-degree murder.
As they step in,
I'm in the military, Your Honor.
You are?
And quickly step out.
Hi, Mr. Booth. How are you?
How you doing, ma'am? Okay, ma'am.
49-year-old Arthur Booth is a career criminal, charged with burglary, grand theft, fleeing, and resisting arrest.
You have actually 3 arrest affidavits: reckless driving, damage to property, leaving the scene of a crash with serious injury.
With no serious injury.
I'm sorry, no serious injury.
Okay.
After questioning, Judge Glazer explains the terms of his bond.
The bond on count 1 is $7,500.
But the judge notices something familiar about this defendant.
Okay, Mr. Booth, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh, my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him, all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
The surprise reunion between the 2 former middle school classmates is almost too much for Booth to handle.
Oh, my goodness.
Once a promising student, Booth fell into drug and gambling addictions that led him into a life of petty crime, resulting in multiple stays in prison.
Oh, my goodness.
Good luck to you, sir. I hope you're able to come out of this okay and just lead a lawful life.
The reunion somberly concludes as Glazer sets bail at $43,000.
Okay. All right. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Booth is sent to prison for 10 months and then released into a drug treatment program. For this next story, we want to warn you, the facts are gruesome. But as you will see, daring escapes aren't only attempted in the American legal system. As we head over to Russia. This is 18-year-old Leonid Grazer, who's on trial in Moscow, Russia, for the murder of his sister, Aradia Coral. According to the defendant, he was commanded by Satan to kill his 21-year-old sister, who he stabbed multiple times. Today, Grazer's in the Sherbinsky courthouse behind the walls of a glass cage. This practice is rarely seen today outside of Russia to prevent dangerous criminals from attacking or possibly even escaping, which is exactly what Grazer's planning to do. It appears now that Grazer's calmed down, but moments later, he somehow has slipped through the slats at the top of the bulletproof security dock. A gap in the video doesn't reveal how he did it, but if we look again, officers consider opening the box to stop him, but Grazer's way ahead of them. One officer strikes him, but he's not giving up. The female officer runs over and presses a large button on the wall, calling for backup. Grazer's pants are coming off during the escape. The officer has a firm grip on Grazer's leg and is not about to let go. Then another officer arrives. At this point, these Russian officers are not playing around. As the taser comes out, he makes sure Grazer knows what's about to happen. Grazer's finally had enough. After putting his pants back on, Grazer will go on to make a full confession for the murder and said he had no regrets about what he did.
Austin Boone.
Next, we're in Louisville, Kentucky, where 20-year-old Austin Boone is appearing on charges of speeding and possession of drug paraphernalia. Boone's been prepped by his attorney. But when Judge Stephanie Pierce Burke hits him with a tough question,
How do you plead to the speeding 22 over and a possession of drug paraphernalia on January 23rd?
he crumbles under the pressure.
And she told me, is that guilty or not guilty?
Well, if you plead guilty, then I can give you the plea agreement that you made.
Yeah, whatever the agreement was.
Okay, the agreement was to plead guilty and get a $44 fine plus traffic school plus a $100 fine on the drug paraphernalia. You would pay that today and then go to traffic school so that you would not get the 6 points on your license. Is that what you understood? Okay.
Despite his initial confusion, it looks like Boone will be on his way after accepting the conditions of his plea agreement. But as the judge finalizes the details,
So you pay $178 today.
a bailiff notices a problem with Boone's courtroom attire.
Pull your pants up.
178 owed.
Just how does it go?
Not liking his response, the bailiff brings Boone's sagging pants to Judge Burke's attention.
Why is it that you need to pull his pants up?
Yeah. Your pants need to be up when you're in a courtroom.
They are up. They're not. Oh,
Sir, up.
They're up. What?
He's got a belt on, Judge, and they hang around his...
They're up. I don't
Okay,
understand what the
that's
problem
inappropriate. They need to be around your waist,
I'm
not
just here to
below
pay
your
the
bottom.
Pull your pants up. You've been just...
Not below your bottom.
I mean, that's my all y'all see is my basketball shorts. It's not even my boxers.
While some people in the courtroom find the sagging pants crackdown amusing, Judge Burke does not.
Do you understand that you're in a court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you do what the judge says, and that is pull your pants up around your waist.
What do you want me to do?
Pull your pants up. If you have to tighten your belt, you're gonna be an adult when you come to court. Do you understand?
Yes, but right now I'm trying to leave court.
You're gonna stay a lot longer than you'd like if you don't pull your pants up.
Ma'am, they hurt. What do you want from me?
Have a seat.
Have a seat at your box.
Have a seat. Because I said so.
Austin Boone might be laughing now, but when he's called back in front of Judge Burke 15 minutes later, she reminds him who wears the pants in the courtroom.
I instructed you to pull your pants up on a number of occasions and gave you the opportunity to do that. Instead, you wanted to argue about it and act a fool. When I put you in that box, that was to give you a few moments so that I could discuss that with you privately at the end of this docket.
But rather than using his time in the jury box to pull up his big boy pants, Boone took them off instead. He now appears just wearing the athletic shorts that were underneath.
By removing your pants, it was extremely poor judgment. Okay, I'm holding you in contempt. I'm going to sentence you to 7 days to serve for direct contempt of court.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Why?
Because you don't know how to act
They
like a
couldn't be
grown-up.
high enough for you, so I took them off.
As bailiffs take Boone into custody, he voices a major concern.
But what about my pants, though? Did you get them? There's a Gucci down on there. I don't care what you got on there.
You'll get your property.
Austin Boone ultimately served 2 days in jail for the contempt of court charge. As for his original charges of speeding and possession of drug paraphernalia, the judge honored his plea agreement, ordering him to attend traffic school and pay $178 in fines.
But what about my pants, though?
Next, we head to Eureka, Kansas for a virtual hearing. 24-year-old Karis Green has been charged with unlawful possession of methamphetamine and unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. A month earlier, Green was driving to Georgia when she was pulled over for speeding and then arrested on the drug charges. Her mother posted bond of $7,500 and she was released. But then Green missed her scheduled court date and a warrant was issued for her arrest. Today, she appears remotely before Judge Phyllis Webster to find out if she'll be taken into custody or remain free on bond pending trial.
Okay, where are you, Miss Green?
In Alaska.
Who's Cynthia Miller?
That's my mom.
Okay, you just cost her $7,500 by not coming to court. She's gonna have to lose that.
There's no way that,
And that was a cash bond, it looks like. We have to decide what to do about that warrant. Ms. Gillette, what's your thought on that? Do you have a position on whether it's lifted or not?
I'm fine being lifted if she calls court services every week.
Under Sheriff Cox, does your office take a position on what to do about that warrant?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Because I have information that she's actually in Pueblo, Colorado, not Alaska.
Pueblo?
Yes.
No.
Who was the gentleman walking around behind you in the picture a while ago?
His name's Dale.
Dale what?
Dale Whitman.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Can you put your face in this camera, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was on the video. I apologize for my appearance.
Okay. All right. Where do you live?
I live in Green Mountain Falls, Colorado.
And you're at home right now?
I am.
All right. Thank you, sir. Miss Green?
Yes.
You just lied to me. Remember when this hearing started and you said you were in Alaska?
Oh.
Why'd you lie to me? You realize you put me in a position where I can't trust anything you tell me now. Well, I was ready to set aside your warrant, but then you lied and said you were in Alaska, and I find out you're in Colorado. And does that change anybody's recommendations since you flat lied?
I think the warrant should stand, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. We're gonna leave that warrant out for you.
Please, is there any way that you can just lift the warrant? I'm so...
Well, I would have if you hadn't lied to me.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm gonna have you sit there for a little bit while I think about what I'm gonna do with you, okay?
Okay.
While the judge keeps Green on the Zoom, Under Sheriff Cox leaves the call to contact law enforcement in Colorado. Green, meanwhile, has moved outside.
I'm going to leave her warrant active.
You're gonna leave my warrant. Is there any way you could, like, quash it? Ma'am, I know I messed up.
Don't use that language in court. That's contempt.
I'm so sorry. I know I messed up big time. And I really apologize for lying to you in your court. That was really not a good idea.
But at this point, local police have arrived to arrest Green on her warrant.
Law enforcement is on.
All right. Are you there for her on her warrant, Marshal? Yeah. Okay. Well, you're going with him now. Then we're gonna quit playing games. You better call your mom and tell her you cost her $7,500 on her bond. You go with him. All right.
Green was taken into custody and released after posting a new bond of $5,000. If convicted on the possession of meth and drug paraphernalia charges, she could be sentenced to 10 to 42 months in prison. Her case is pending. Next, we go to a sentencing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The defendant is 18-year-old Brendan Wazinski, who's charged with impersonating a sheriff's deputy. 6 months earlier, Wazinski was driving an unmarked car with a police siren when he pulled over a driver for speeding. Albuquerque police officer Danny Anzo came upon the scene and, thinking something off about the situation, decided to check it out.
You gotta talk to her for a minute. Who do you work for?
Earlier Insurance Office.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm under-equipped.
Okay, do you have an ID with you?
I mean, this is all I got. I mean, like I said, I'm under-equipped. I was just heading over there to the courthouse.
To the courthouse for what?
To get my crap.
Okay.
The wannabe cop sticks to his story.
I know, it makes no sense. I caught him going 120 down I-40.
The officer has Wazinski hang around while he checks on his story.
Sam 110 out of pity.
While he waits for a response, Anzo casually chats with Wazinski. One officer to sort of another.
And I'm not here to mess with you, man. It's just the thing is, yeah, he was speeding, dude. You could have called it in. And, because if you get into shooting, you're screwed.
Right.
All right, man.
I understand. For starters, I know this looks really bad.
Right.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
Right. How long you been on?
About 3 years.
Okay. I've been on for like 13 years. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you need to be a little bit more careful, all right?
Yes, sir.
So just do me a favor, hang tight for a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
It sounds like the officer might be letting him go. Not so fast. Anzo requests a supervisor from the Bernalillo Sheriff's Office to come down to the scene. In the meantime, he puts Wazinski in the back of his cruiser.
Do you have anything on you, man? Any weapons or anything? Okay.
Keys and wallet.
That's fine. Just have a seat, all right?
All right.
It looks like this bizarre game of good cop, fake cop may be coming to an end. So Wazinski comes clean.
Can you talk real quick?
Yeah, give me 1 second. What's up, man?
All right. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna be.
Did you get that badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay, for a second.
After discussing the strange situation with his sergeant, Anzo makes the next move.
Back in my car. Hey, Brendan, step out of the vehicle for a second, man. Okay, face the vehicle. At this point right now, you are being under arrest. You understand?
Before heading downtown, Wazinski sheds a few tears in the back seat.
So I need you to lean back a little bit. Thank you.
Can I please help my wife?
I'll give you, when we get to the substation, we'll give her a call, okay?
Wazinski's formally charged with impersonating an officer, a misdemeanor, and a second officer takes him off to jail.
Yeah, buddy. Can't be pretending to be a cop.
Yeah, I know, I'm stupid.
Lesson learned, right?
As they head downtown, the reality of the situation kicks in for this counterfeit cop.
It's one hell of a thought to know that in about 2 minutes, I f***ed my life pretty damn good.
Now, as he stands before a very real judge, instead of fighting the charge, Wazinski pleads no contest. He's sentenced to 1 year of probation. The judge also rules he can't carry any firearms or handcuffs and must undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
Because I do not want any kind of reoffense on this kind of case. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
But this sham sheriff story doesn't end there. Wazinski violates his probation by failing to get that psych evaluation. But he gets a break when the judge gives him an extra 2 weeks to complete the evaluation. When told of his extension, Wazinski presses his luck.
I can try the best I can, Your Honor. I mean, I have honestly a lot going on right now, and it's stressful, but I will try my hardest to get it done.
Okay, so just to let you know, we all have a lot going on, and it is very stressful for everyone, but this is very important, and I'm not going to give you longer than that.
Wazinski did eventually complete his evaluation and was able to avoid jail time. And hopefully his days of impersonating an officer are over.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
As for the driver Wazinski pulled over, he was, of course, free to go. Next, we're in Detroit, Michigan, where 29-year-old Dominique Slaughter is scheduled to turn himself in and begin a previously ordered jail sentence. 3 years earlier, Slaughter was arrested and charged with possessing a stolen credit card and carrying a concealed weapon. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 1 year in jail and 18 months probation, plus restitution and fines. Despite failing to report to jail, Judge Kelly Ramsey allowed Slaughter to remain free on probation with a GPS tether while he worked to pay off his restitution and also resolve 6 outstanding warrants he had in other jurisdictions. Today, 14 months after sentencing, Slaughter's scheduled to surrender to the court and start serving his year in jail. But first, Slaughter's probation officer, Brittany Wisser, informs the judge that Slaughter has not exactly been complying with her probation orders.
Mr. Slaughter still has not paid anything towards his fees, costs, or restitution. He has not resolved the 6 pending warrants that he had. He now has an additional 4 warrants as well, which are for driving without a license and for narcotic possession. He failed to appear for sentencing. The tether reports will show that he has multiple shutdowns of his tether, meaning he has failed to charge that tether and it was shut down. There's a total of 11 shutdowns, and then there is a home zone violations as well. There's 21 of those violations. Those are saying that he's not in the home when he was required to be in the home.
But the judge seems more concerned with getting Slaughter to serve his long-delayed jail sentence.
I'm not going to deal with any of this today. This is a surrender date for Mr. Slaughter, and that's what's going to happen. If there is a violation of probation filed or a tether violation filed subsequent to this, then you'll receive notice and we'll hear it.
When the judge mentions his impending jail time, Slaughter becomes distraught, raising his hands and holding his head.
What's upsetting you, Mr. Slaughter? Sheriffs don't like you turning around. Stand still, face me. This is a surrender date. I'm sorry I asked for an update, Mr. Slaughter, if a fraction of what she said is true. No, this is a surrender date, Mr. Slaughter. A surrender date.
I didn't think that I'd get locked up because the work was done. That's why I thought I was gonna get continued. That's why I even went to work today, Ms. Randy.
Objection to work release if work release is offered, Mr. Slaughter. If it is offered, it is not offered. It doesn't exist anymore. This was a plea, not a trial, a plea. I'm not relitigating where we are.
I get my direct deposit tomorrow. I just wanted to make sure that my wife and them were straight as it.
You knew that it was today. The direct deposit's gonna be there tomorrow.
I just wanted one day to take it. Please.
Your wife, doesn't she have access to your bank account?
No, she don't. No, she don't. My wife got a spending problem, so I keep all my money to her. That's all I'm.
What are you gonna do for the next 11 months in the Wayne County Jail?
She's gonna have to figure it out.
Well, then she had to figure it out before today. Today's the surrender date, Mr. Slaughter.
Judge Ramsey's had enough and is ready to move on. But Slaughter continues to plead for more time.
Just till morning, Miss Randy. Just till morning, I still gotta tell her.
This is disingenuous, Mr. Slaughter. You can't ask me for any more time. I've been as generous gift. Mr. Slaughter, you see the 3 pages of people who need to see me today. Read those.
I need everything just tonight, Miss Randy. Please. I would turn myself in the morning. I would come straight down.
Come on now, Mr. Slaughter. Today is the day. How many pleases do you get out of me?
I'm just asking for a few hours, please. Just a few hours. Just to say bye to my family and everything.
That was last night. You're at the end of probation. You gotta serve this time. Go with my sheriff. Come on. Come on now. Breaking the law has its consequences.
Slaughter is now serving his year in jail. When released, he'll still need to complete 4 more months of probation. Next, we go to Flint, Michigan for a virtual civil hearing. Judge Herman Marable presiding. Timothy Moore has filed suit against his aunt, Cherkitha Love, claiming she's violated a lease agreement. Moore had recently rented a house to Love, but now he wants her to move out since he claims the lease is expired.
Mr. Moore, you indicated that the lease had expired.
Yes.
I don't see a copy of the lease attached to the complaint.
She has the lease. I don't have the lease.
But you're saying the lease has expired, so how can I look at the dates if you don't have a copy?
The judge now turns to Love, who's appearing in person. She has the lease, but doesn't seem to have read it.
So, what, you didn't read it?
Judge Merrill, I thought he wouldn't do me like that because I just had lost my sister and I moved in the house thinking my nephew would do right by me.
Oh, boy. There's stuff written in 2 different color inks. I don't know what that means. It doesn't state the length of time that the tenancy is to last. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to adjourn this.
Yesterday was my birthday, and I hate to have to come here today.
Everybody thinks their birthday is some special exemption for something.
It's not.
This is the second day in a row I've heard somebody say, well, it's my birthday, so therefore the rules don't apply. What's going on? Oh my God. I'm not a judge at juvenile court, okay? I'm a judge at district court. I deal with adults. You know what I'm saying? So, when an 8-year-old tells me it's his birthday, I'm like, well, happy birthday, 8-year-old. But when grown people tell me it's their birthday and therefore I don't have to do this, or I shouldn't have to show up for court, or blah, 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 I really am not getting that.
It's because it's a special day for me and my sister that passed.
I get it, but it has nothing to do with court and what I have to do as a judge. Nobody's birthday exempts them from coming to court. Not even mine. I guess I missed that memo about, the adult birthdays exempt them from doing stuff. No, it doesn't. Okay?
Can I speak, Your Honor?
No, I don't think you should. I think we should not. I think we should end it now. With me telling you that it's adjourned to October 12th. We're talking October. And it'll be a week after my birthday. Maybe I won't show up that day because it's a week after my birthday and I don't want to show up that day.
The parties did return a few weeks later, but the case is still pending. We're now in the El Paso County Courthouse in El Paso, Texas.
All rise.
Please be seated. The record should reflect the attorneys for the state, the attorneys for the accused are present in the courtroom.
The man you see here is 41-year-old Daniel Villegas, accused of killing 2 teens in 1993 when he was just 16. At that time, without an attorney or his parents present, Villegas says he was coerced by an El Paso detective into confessing to the murders. Despite recanting the confession hours later, it became a key piece of evidence for the prosecution.
Present in the courtroom, the court has received a message from the jury indicating that they've reached a verdict.
Villegas has been on trial 3 separate times for this crime and has maintained his innocence throughout.
Let's bring the jury in.
His first trial in 1994 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. A 1995 retrial ended with a conviction for capital murder, and Villegas was sentenced to life in prison. After spending 18 years in prison, that verdict was thrown out in 2013 because of ineffective assistance of counsel. Villegas was released in January of 2014 and has remained out on bond as he awaited a 3rd trial. During that time, he fathered 2 children. Though the prosecution continued to insist on his guilt, there was no DNA, no firearm, and no forensic evidence presented linking Villegas to the shooting.
If the defendant will please stand.
The last 25 years of his life, much of it in prison, has all led up to this moment.
In the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District, the state of Texas versus Daniel Villegas, number 94-0D09328. Verdict Form B. We, the jury, find the defendant, Daniel Villegas, not guilty of...
For the first time since he was 16 years old, 25 years ago, Daniel Villegas is a free man.
Mr. Villegas, you have been under many conditions in this court. You are no longer under any conditions in this court. You are free to leave. Good luck to you.
You are in contempt, Mr. Tertelgate?
No, I'm
you
not.
Don't be quiet right now. I will have you arrested.
Stormy.
We're in Eureka, Montana, and the man wearing the no hunting or trespassing sign around his neck is Ernie Tertelgate, Montana's proverbial sovereign citizen, better known as the natural living man. The 57-year-old's in court today representing himself on charges of driving with a suspended license and obstructing a peace officer during his arrest. But now, after Tertelgate interrupted proceedings during jury selection, Judge Stormy Langston holds him in contempt of court.
You are in contempt, Mr. Tertelgate.
No, I'm
If you
not.
don't be quiet right now,
You are
I will
in
have you
contempt of
arrested.
law, Stormy. You're in contempt of law. I'm standing for my
Officer
country's
Hines,
constitution, my
take Mr.
country's people.
Tertelgate into custody, please.
And I'm not keeping hands off me, Clint.
As security attempts to remove Tertelgate, Town Attorney Clifton Hayden keeps one of his supporters at bay.
Do we understand? Keep your hands off of me. Keep your hands off of me. Keep your hands off of me. Clinton Hines, you are guilty of conducting a military crime of foreign war. I'm an officer of justice.
Just as it looks like Tertelgate is being escorted out, he isn't.
What are we doing? Back off.
Tertelgate is almost out of the courtroom when he grabs the doorway and pushes back against the officer.
What are we doing? Back off.
Leave me alone, Clinton.
As the somewhat awkward wrestling match continues, Tertelgate's supporters add commentary.
This man.
Leave me alone.
Deserve this. Leave me alone. Unconstitutional.
He hasn't done any wrong.
So I'm gonna get hurt.
Why has no one been able to tell him what wrong he's done?
Doing me harm.
Why has no one been able to tell him what wrong he's done?
Back off! Are you getting in it?
I'm backing off. Respect me now.
From the floor, Tertelgate continues the sovereign citizen argument that the court doesn't hold jurisdiction over him.
When I comply, it will not be because contract is established.
When Tertelgate finally gets handcuffed, one of his supporters addresses Judge Langston.
Your Honor, can I ask a question without getting contempt for it?
What is your question, sir?
My question is what did Ernie do wrong? What did he do wrong?
He's not following the procedure and
The court has no jurisdiction.
What are the procedures to follow? The Constitution.
The court has no jurisdiction. This court has never answered for one thing.
Okay, at the very least, the common rules of being civil in a civil society.
Can we hold that officer as stands to
Remove
me
my
right now?
materials. All these people here.
No, you don't.
Listen, all these people remove my materials. Get my hat, my constitution.
Following the incident, Ernie Tertelgate was found guilty of contempt of court, but served no jail time. He was also charged with assaulting a peace officer. That case is still pending. As for his original charge of driving with a suspended license, he was also found guilty, but again served no jail time. The charge of obstructing a peace officer was dismissed.
The drugs were there. I did not put the narcotics there.
We head to Jackson County, Florida, for the trial of Zachary Wester. The former sheriff's deputy was charged with 67 counts of racketeering, fabricating evidence, false imprisonment, and possession of controlled substances. Wester's accused of planting drugs in a dozen vehicles during random traffic stops.
That appears to be an illegal narcotic. Do you know anything about that? I do not.
All of the drivers denied owning the drugs, but yet most were subsequently arrested.
You have the right to remain silent.
The arrest caused suspicion internally, and in 2018, Wester was suspended. 3 years later, the case went to trial. He pleaded not guilty to all charges.
This is a case about an abuse of an incredible power, about the abuse of the incredible trust that we all put, and we have to put, in law enforcement in a society.
The prosecution relied on the defendant's own body cam footage to help argue their case. Stephen Van, a convicted felon, had recently gotten out of jail when Wester supposedly found methamphetamine in his car.
Have you ever seen this before? No, what is that? I'm just trying to figure out how that stuff got in your car. You're gonna go to jail today for possession of methamphetamine, okay?
Oh man, dude, I'm serious, dude. Anything, what you want me to do, man?
Like the other drivers who testified, Van gave the officer permission to search his car because he claims he had nothing to hide.
And I knew my truck was clean. I knew it was.
While the jury got to watch most of the traffic stops, some recordings had mysteriously disappeared.
Why in the world would that have been deleted? I wish I knew that answer.
Ironically, body cam footage would become the strongest element in the prosecution's case, especially when it came to Teresa Odom.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
At first, the officer's polite, even playful.
Anything in the vehicle I need to be concerned about? Bombs, hand grenades, rocket launchers? Okay.
While Odom stands behind the vehicle, Wester begins his search. Notice as he prepares to put his gloves on, there's a small item in his left hand. Prosecutors argue that Wester is palming a small bag of meth, which he claims to find next to a spoon in the vehicle.
Miss Odom.
It is yogurt, sir.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine. No, sir.
Okay.
Now, the white small plastic baggie that was in that spoon that the deputy just showed you on this video, had you ever seen that before?
No, sir.
Was that in your car?
No, sir.
As far as motive, the prosecution claims the 28-year-old officer was ambitious and wanted to move to narcotics as quickly as possible. Wester testified he never planted any drugs.
The drugs were there. I did not put the narcotics there.
And after 5 days and several witnesses, the jury was asked to render a verdict. If Wester's found guilty on all charges, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. After 7 hours, the jury returns with its verdict.
In the state of Florida versus Zachary Tyler Wester, we, the jury, find as follows as to the counts charged in the information. Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged.
The clerk went on to read the verdicts on all 67 charges.
Count 7, guilty of official misconduct as charged.
In total, the crooked officer was found guilty on 19 charges.
Count 9, guilty of official misconduct as charged. Count 10, guilty of official misconduct as charged.
Including misconduct in the arrests of Van and Teresa Odom. 11 of the 12 drivers filed civil lawsuits against Wester. In July 2021, he was sentenced to 12.5 years in a state prison. Next, we're in Charleston, West Virginia for a pretrial hearing.
Henry T. Eldon, Henry T. Eldon, Henry T. Eldon.
Henry T. Eldon is in the courtroom, but he is refusing the magistrate's order to come forward to the defendant's table.
I have called him thrice. I have no response. Get up here in this seat right now.
That's right. The judge called him thrice. Eldon is facing multiple charges, including fraudulent official proceedings and fraudulent service of indebtedness related to falsely filing claims with the court. Today, he's joined in the courtroom by a friend who's recording the proceedings on his cell phone and getting involved himself.
I'm a witness, okay? Okay, what I'm saying is, he is present, and he's chosen not to step up there. He's asking not for an appointed lawyer. He doesn't need an attorney. So you're acting in the capacity of I'm not lawyer? Acting. I'm a witness. This is American National. American National.
American National is another nod to the sovereign citizen movement that both he and the defendant identify with. Eventually, Eldon does respond to the magistrate, Ward Harshbarger, but still refuses to come forward.
The court reporter has to be established before anything can proceed.
Well, okay, well, get up in your seat now, and we will wait for that. We have some preliminary thing.
We're all waiting for the court reporter to be...
Do it now. All right, this is State versus Henry T. Eldon Jr. Mr. Eldon, I need to have a seat at the defendant's table. For the record, I'm a witness. Sit down. You sit down and not say another word.
Seemingly getting more aggravated, the magistrate turns to his courtroom deputy for assistance.
Would you get Mr. Eldon? Will you show you where the seat is, please?
May I have permission?
You may have a seat right there.
You
You may have a seat right there.
Eldon finally gets up to the stand before the judge, but it won't be for long.
You are going to be held in contempt.
All right, Mr. Ellen, can you just stand up for me, please? Turn around and place your hands behind your back, if you would.
And who are you? And do you have a warrant, a signed
I do
warrant?
not have a warrant. I've just been made aware by the judge that he wants me to take you into custody for obstructing judicial process, okay?
But before the magistrate had the defendant arrested and cuffed, he pulls a final move out of every parent's playbook and counts to 3.
1. Have a seat. 2. Have a seat, please.
I would like to speak, and I have information to present. I don't know how I'm instructing.
Last warning.
You won't comply
Get in the
with what he's
seat
asking
and
you
we'll
to do.
proceed.
Again, locked in a stalemate, the magistrate decides to just get down to business.
How do you plead?
I would like to see your oath of office. I'd like to see your letter accepting and acknowledging your office. And I would like to see the same for the prosecuting attorney. And to know the names of everyone in this room. I need that before I understand what's going on, sir.
So the answer, and I will answer for him, is not guilty. Okay?
I haven't made any plea, nor should you make one
All
for
right.
me. I don't accept that.
Okay.
I don't accept
Well, I don't care
anything that's
whether
happened
you
here today.
accept it or not,
I did
Mr.
not
Allen.
in your own
You
position.
may escort him out. Court is adjourned.
The court wouldn't confirm the details, but according to Eldon, he did not appear for his next court hearing and was arrested on a bench warrant and served 2 weeks in jail. He also says the original fraudulent service and fraudulent official proceedings charges against him were later dropped. Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam. Subscribe to A&E to never miss a new video and catch full episodes on aetv.com.